Genesis 29, 25 through 35. But when morning came, Jacob saw that it was Leah, and said to Laban, "What have you done to me? Did I not work for Rachel? Why have you deceived me?" Laban answered and said, "In our country it is not right to give the younger sister in marriage before the elder. Go through with another 7 days. Feast for the elder, and the younger shall be given to you in return for further 7 years' work." Jacob agreed and completed the 7 days for Leah. And we'll pick back up in verse 29. Pick back up in a minute. Laban knew the customs of the day. Jacob may have knew the customs of the day. Jacob may have known the customs of the day and decided, well, Laban said, I could marry Rachel. So apparently, Jacob may have thought, well, Laban's going to put the customs aside since I'm family and allow me to marry the wife of my choice. Laban may have thought, well, I'm going to marry off the older one before his 7 years is up. Maybe. It's possible. It's also possible that during this time, Jacob thought of a plan, and he's like, well, I'll give him Leah instead. He may have not essentially went off and done this at first, but as the 7 years went off, he may have started thinking, well, I need to get rid of Leah. He may have been realizing the time was going up, and his work would have been gone. He keeps trying to drag in Jacob in this story, in his time there, always trying to keep him there working for him. In fact, as Laban broke his word. At this time, people are judged by the quality of their word, and Laban is a very low character because of this. Jacob is also taken advantage of because he lets himself be taken advantage of. Jacob probably could have fought because they had agreement to take his wife Rachel. He offers a feast. I would at this point be like, oh, my 7 years work in the start. I don't want to do this feast. I don't want to work for you for any amount of time because of what he's done to me. He could have let. I'm kidding. So, another 7 years, this is total 14 for what he actually wants to marry Rachel. He didn't want to marry Leah. He probably would have worked a day for Leah because he didn't want to marry her. But he's willing to work 14 years for Rachel. Now this develops a problem. Verse 29. Then Jacob gave Rachel to his daughter to Rachel, into verse 20. As a wife, he gave her a slave girl Bilhah to serve his daughter Rachel. Now this was common. He also did this with Leah, and kind of shows that Laban did not show favoritism between his daughters. Jacob would, and that would develop the problem. He already showed favoritism. At this point, he's married to Leah, but he's still striving to be married to Rachel. This right there causes distinction between him and his wife, Leah. Would have to. Jacob slept with Rachel. Also, he loved her rather than Leah. So this is after the 7 years, in this part. Leah probably realized how Jacob felt about her. During that 7 years, he was married to her and not Rachel. Jacob may have got off work and gone and talked with Rachel about what future they were going to have. Maybe And it wasn't something Leah would have just noticed. She would have noticed it coming in and eventually realized it to begin with. Leah, was probably thinking, this is my husband. He's my husband first. Yet when he wasn't my husband, he's still loving you. He loved you. There's a jealousy because of this. And he worked for Laban for another further 7 years. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he granted her a child, but Rachel was childless. Now, it's most likely that these 4 sons of Leah were born before Rachel was married to him, most likely. Because even though, here's what happened. Laban actually realized, shows some pity. He actually gives Rachel to be his wife then with the commitment of Jacob working 7 years. At this point, Jacob could have been a dishonest man and leave after they were married. So, Leah is the one bearing children. Children oftentimes showed favor for the husband. If a woman couldn't bear her husband and child, usually it wasn't the favorite. Usually the favorite was the one that could bear the child. Leah conceived and bore a son. Sons were always the most favored. Sons were the ones the heirs. This was his firstborn, and she called him Reuben. For she said, the Lord has seen my humiliation. Now my husband will love me. Again she conceived and bore a son, and said, the Lord is hearing me, and I am not loved, has given me this child also. She called his name Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son. She said, now that I have borne him 3 sons, my husband and I will surely be united. So she called him Levi. Once more she conceived and bore a son, and she said, now I will praise the Lord. Therefore she named him Judah. Then for a while she bore no more children. So she bore 4 sons. At this point, these are the only sons Jacob has. But Jacob's love for Rachel remains more. He doesn't really love Leah. She's just his wife. Rachel's his love. His children doesn't change yet. It proves that because Rachel's children are favored. This causes a problem. We as Christians should not show favoritism to people. Yes, we have a family, and we should take care of our family, but we should not show favoritism in our family.